Hello everybody, this video is going to tell you everything that you need to know about Disney's Genie, Genie Plus, and individual lightning lanes. Look, this is probably the most convoluted and complex thing that Disney has ever created. And most of us watching this video are probably asking ourselves, what were they thinking? But whether you are using these services for the first time, or maybe you're a pro and you just want a few extra tips and tricks and secrets that the pros use, this video is going to uncomplicate it all and make sure that you get the best experience out of your vacation. Alright, we have been using the Genie service and the Lightning Lane services since they were created. And we are going to go through the best and most cost-effective ways for you to use these services and just make sure that you're getting your money's worth. So let's get started. First things first, there's a lot of content here in this video about Genie, Genie Plus, and Lightning Lanes. So I've created this video and divided it into chapters. Right down below, it's got different chapters you can click through. So if you're interested in something very specific and you don't want to have to watch the whole video, you can quickly jump down to it using the chapters below. So let's start out by just talking a little bit about what are these things? Like, what are the differences? What's the difference between Genie and Genie Plus and Lightning Lane? What are all these things? Let's talk about each one individually. Let's start out with Genie first, just the straight Genie system. The standard Disney Genie service is a free service. All it is really is a personal planner for you. It's not a real person, it's just a program that actually plans out your day for you. Now, you do not get any sort of free fast passes, what we used to call them, lightning passes. No, you don't get any sort of special access to the rides. All it is a personal plan for you. And we'll talk about this a little bit more later on how this works. Then there's the Disney Genie Plus, which is a paid system. It's $15 per person per day. So it is an addition. The Disney Genie Plus will allow you to shortcut some of the rides. Then there's the individual Lightning Lane Pass. The individual Lightning Lane Pass is only available for a handful of rides, and it is an additional cost per ride. And this can vary between around $10 all the way up to around $17 per ride per person per day. So each time you want to ride a ride, you would be paying that price each time per person. Then the last thing is the Lightning Lane itself. The Lightning Lane is a physical lane. It is the place that you go, you return to. Instead of going to the regular standby or virtual queue line in front of the attraction, you would go to a special lane, a special line that would allow you to actually get in and shortcut the line. And this is referred to as the Lightning Lane. And this is the lane that you are going to use whether you're using Genie Plus or you're using the individual Lightning Lane Pass. Now, you do not need to purchase Genie Plus in order to purchase an individual Lightning Lane. So we'll just get that out of the way right now up front. You can do Disney Genie Plus and pay for that, or you can do the individual Lightning Lanes and purchase that, or you can do both, just depends. These two things do not overlap. The rides and attractions that are available on Disney Genie Plus are going to be different than the rides that you would be available for the individual Lightning Lane Pass. Kind of think of the individual Lightning Lane Pass as like the extra special rides, like the rides that are going to have the longest wait times, the ones that are going to be the hardest to get. They get sort of set aside on a separate system where they want you to pay an additional fee just to ride that ride, versus the Disney Genie Plus, which is sort of like a collection of all the other rides throughout the park that you might want to shortcut the line for. Confused already? I know, it's a complicated system. So let's just recap. Disney Genie is a free service. It's basically a personal planner that helps you plan your day. Disney Genie Plus is a paid service, $15 per person, that allows you to shortcut the lines for pretty much all the attractions in the park, except for the extra special rides where you would need the individual Lightning Lane Pass to actually purchase, which is around $10 to $17 per person, just to ride the ride one time, that you can buy separately. You don't have to buy Disney Genie Plus in order to use individual Lightning Lane passes. The Lightning Lane itself is the place that you actually go to use your Lightning Lane Pass from Disney Genie Plus or your individual Lightning Lane Pass. Okay, got it? Let's keep rolling. Let's talk about how each one of these things work. In order to use the Disney Genie service, you simply go into your My Disney Experience app. You go to the section there where it says plan your day out, use your Disney Genie. And when you go in there, you'll get options to select the types of things that you want to do throughout the day. You can select different attractions that maybe you want to hit throughout the day, different dining experiences, whether or not you want to watch the fireworks, any sort of meet and greets and things. And once you've selected all the things that you really want to do throughout the day, it will then bring you back an agenda. The agenda which it recommends what order of things to do. So like it'll tell you should do this ride like Peter Pan's Flight, and then maybe you should go to lunch at Cosmic Rays, and then maybe you should ride Space Mountain, and then maybe you should try to catch the parade if that was what you were interested in, and then later on fireworks and so on and so forth. It'll try to plan your day for you. Overall, it's not that useful, if I'm being completely honest. I think for people who have never been to Disney before and just have absolutely no idea what to expect and don't watch any videos like this on how to actually do things, maybe Disney Genie is okay for you because it'll kind of help you plan your day. But we've done other videos, and I'll link it below, of what Disney Genie actually recommends, and it's not that great. It's going to pretty much waste most of your day. It's not going to recommend things in a great order. Again, it's a program, it's an algorithm. Hey, maybe they'll improve it over time, but right now, it's kind of a waste of time. I wouldn't really use the Disney Genie service. Now let's talk about Genie Plus. You go into the My Disney Experience app once again, you go in and you choose that you want to purchase Genie Plus. You can do this for your entire party, or you can do it just for yourself. Again, $15 per person per day. Once you have Disney Genie Plus purchased, you can then go in and make your selections. Now, when you can buy Genie Plus and for who and for how long continues to change. So I highly recommend checking out the Disney website to find out the current rules. Because it used to be you could buy it in advance. It used to be you could buy it for the entire stay of your vacation, but you couldn't buy it for just one day. Then it sort of switched over to you can only buy it one day at a time, and it has to be the day of. So there's a lot of rules, and it's constantly fluctuating. Unfortunately, we can't put all the rules in this video because it will change. So what I'm going to do is any updated information for this video, I'm going to pin a comment down below that continues to add more information. If it's different or if there's additional information that is not in this video that you might need to know, it'll be in that first comment below that'll be pinned. So be sure to check out that comment once you've watched this video to see if anything is different. So right now, you can only buy Disney Genie Plus the day of. So at midnight, you can purchase Disney Genie Plus for the day that you're going to be going to the park, so tomorrow. So midnight tonight, I could buy it for my trip tomorrow. However, you cannot make any selections of attractions that you want to ride until 7 a.m. And that's for everybody. It doesn't matter if you're a resort guest. It doesn't matter if you are a non-resort guest. Nobody can make any Disney Genie Plus attraction selections until 7 a.m. The way this works is that you will get the full list of all the attractions that are eligible for Disney Genie Plus in that list. And as you're scrolling through the list of the available attractions that are eligible, you'll see a couple of different things. You'll see a standby line option, which basically just kind of tells you what the wait time is for the ride, so you know, should I bother booking it if there's no wait? I probably don't want to burn one of my Genie Plus options on that. You'll also see the Disney Genie option, which will tell you a possible return time. Whatever that time says is probably the time that you can get, or you can select a different time. You don't have to choose that exact time. So if it says 12 noon, you can click on that, you can go in, and then you can usually select 12 noon or some other times after that will be available. It's not guaranteed, but there could be a lot of different times you could choose from. If you see Disney Genie and says not available, then that means there's no more return times available for that day. You missed out because too many people have already gotten Disney Genie options for that particular attraction. And then, as I said, the only other thing you'll see in there is the individual Lightning Lane purchase, which will be a separate attraction. Again, those are reserved for the most most crowded rides. So for example, Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, you will see in there it's $17 on average per person. And it's not just attractions for Disney Genie Plus, you can also use it for things like parades and fireworks as well. Now, here's the rub. You can only make one selection at a time. It's not like the old Disney Fast Pass system where you could select 3 things at one time. You can only do one at a time. And again, the first selection you can make is not until 7 a.m. So you're gonna wanna make sure that whichever one you pick at 7 a.m., You choose very wisely because you can think about the fact that these attractions are going to fill up really quickly. So you're not going to get to use it on every single ride, and you're only going to get to use it maybe on a couple of things. And you don't want to use it on, say, something like The Adventures of Winnie the Pooh when you could be using it on something like Space Mountain, because the wait time for Winnie the Pooh is usually like 10 minutes. Space Mountain's more like 60 minutes. Plus, a lot more people are trying to get the Space Mountain Pass. So that means if you don't book it early, you might not get it at all because they won't be available later in the day. The other thing, you can only ride each ride one time. You can't use the Disney Genie and get Space Mountain and then get Space Mountain again and again and again. You only get it once and that's it. So it's a one-time use per ride. So if you want to ride the ride a second time, you have to wait in the standby line. Once you've made your selection, you'll have a return time window. So if you select, say noon, it will tell you, please return sometime between noon and 1 p.m. You have about an hour window to return. Once your window is up, you go over to that location, you go to the lightning lane, scan your badge, scan your magic band, whatever you've got, they'll let you ride in. I highly recommend getting there within that 1 hour window. It is not guaranteed if you get there at 1:01 that they will actually let you in or not. I'm not saying they won't, because a lot of times they will, but it has happened. They can turn you away if they want to. Once you're in the lightning lane, you still might have a little bit of a wait. Usually it's probably only a 5-10 minute wait if you go in the lightning lane. So the standby line might say 60 minutes or even 2 hours. The lightning lane probably only going to be 5-10 minutes, but sometimes the lightning lane can be half hour, can even be up to 60 minutes in the lightning lane, depending on what's going on with the ride, if it's been going up or down all day. So, but on average, it's usually only maybe 5 to 15 minute wait in the lightning lane. So you may be asking yourself, when can I book my next one? So if I can only book one at a time, when can I book my next one? There's 3 ways. 1, you can book your next one once you use the first one. Once you've used the previous one and it's complete, you've used it, you've ridden the ride, you can book another one. Or once your window has expired. So if you got one for 10 o'clock in the morning and your window was 10 to 11 to get there, say you missed your ride, like you forgot or you couldn't make it or you were eating breakfast and it went long, you didn't make it to your ride, then once that window has expired, you can book another one. So at 11:01, you're good to book, okay? But the most important rule is called the 120-minute rule, which the way it works is you can book your next attraction after 120 minutes has passed since you booked your last attraction. Again, the 120-minute rule is really what trips people up because they think that they can book one at 7 a.m. and then book one at 9, and that's not the case. It really depends on when the park opens. It's 2 hours after park opening. Now, let's talk about hacking the system a little bit. It's not really hacking because you're just following the rules, but here's how to get the most out of using Genie Plus. And it really relies on that 120-minute rule and what's referred to commonly as stacking your reservations. When people talk about stacking the passes, here's what they mean. So at 7 a.m., you could theoretically book a pass for 9 a.m., but you're still not going to be able to make another reservation until you've either ridden the ride or that window is expired. So what ends up happening is you get off that ride, say maybe at 9:30 or 10 o'clock in the morning, and by the time you get off, a lot of the other attractions are now sold out or are gone or only have really late times in the day. So what you can do instead is not use Genie Plus to book anything early in the mornings. You might be better off, say, your first one at 7 a.m., booking something, say, let's say 3 or 4 o'clock in the evening. So maybe book something like Peter Pan's Flight or Space Mountain for 3 or 4 o'clock in the evening. And then once the 2 hours has passed at park opening, say 11 o'clock, book another Genie Plus for 3 or 4 o'clock in the evening again. And then once those 2 hours have gone, so now we're getting to say 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock, book another Genie Plus for say 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening. And so on and so forth. So by the time you get to your 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock reservation for the attraction, you've now actually got back-to-back passes. You've got one for 3, you've got one for 4, you've got one for 5. You could even have 2 for 5 o'clock because you can overlap them. You've got one for 6, you got one for 7, and you just kind of like go from ride to ride to ride to ride without really having to wait. And that's commonly what's referred to as stacking. And then using the morning hours to just ride a lot of the rides that maybe don't have longer wait times, or maybe doing a rope drop if you're a resort guest and getting there early and riding a couple of the big rides, and then using those passes for later in the day, later in the evening hours, for some of the big rides that maybe have longer wait times, and not riding those during the day. So for example, later in the evening, you might do something like Space Mountain, Splash Mountain. You might do Peter Pan's Flight, Jungle Cruise, the things that have the longer wait times. You might have those for 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then throughout the day and in the morning hours, maybe you're doing things like Mickey's PhilharMagic and It's a Small World and Haunted Mansion and Pirates of the Caribbean, the things that don't have as much of a long wait. And so by the end of the day, you've pretty much ridden every attraction and you've gotten the most out of your money for Genie Plus. Otherwise, what ends up happening is if you try to book something early in the morning, and then by the time you get off that attraction or the 2 hours has passed and you go to book something else, there's not a whole lot more available, or maybe you get one more big ride out of it, and then you get off, by the time you get off of that ride and you're ready to book your third or fourth one, there's nothing left available except for things like It's a Small World. And you're like, well, I don't want to use a pass on It's a Small World because it's normally a 5-minute wait. And so by the end of it, you're like, wow, I only got to use Disney Genie on like 3 or 4 attractions for the whole day. And they weren't even like the greatest attractions. The other great thing about Disney Genie Plus is you can use it for park hopping. A great option is to go to one park early in the morning and then use the Genie Plus for another park. So maybe go to Magic Kingdom in the morning and ride some stuff, and then use your Genie Plus for the evening hours at Hollywood Studios. And then start booking things at Hollywood Studios like Rock and Roller Coaster and Tower of Terror and Smuggler's Run, using it for those sorts of rides. But just a note, right now with park hopping, what ends up happening is if you select a different park to use your Genie Plus at, it will only show you times after 2 p.m., which is great because this goes back to our stacking method of being able to use it later in the day and stack them up. It doesn't even show you any morning times because you can't actually park hop until 2 p.m. Again, as of right now. That might change, but right now you can't park hop until after 2 p.m. So it's a great way to say, hey, I'm going to go to Magic Kingdom in the morning, but I'm going to use Genie Plus and I'm going to do it for the later evening hours at another park and get a bunch of stacked up reservations. So then by the time you hop over there, you're basically just lightning laning it the whole time you're there. So that's Genie Plus. Let's talk a little bit now about the individual lightning lane. First things first, this is a paid service that is separate from Disney Genie Plus. You do not need to buy Genie Plus in order to use the individual lightning lanes. Now, the individual lightning lanes are only for a very small handful of rides, which tend to keep changing, but right now, things like Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, Star Wars Rise of the Resistance, those are all things that are currently on the individual lightning lane. The individual lightning lane pass is the one area that the hotel guests actually get a huge advantage. Unlike Disney Genie Plus, where everyone has the same opportunity to book attractions at 7 a.m., only hotel resort guests get the opportunity to book individual lightning lanes at 7 a.m. Everybody else has to wait until park opening to book individual lightning lanes, which means for hotel and resort guests, you might actually get to book a really great individual lightning lane time or attraction, and by the time everybody else, so if you're not a resort guest, you go to book a lightning lane, they might all be gone. You may not even have the option of doing the individual lightning lane. Now, I will say it usually isn't a problem because they don't sell out that fast. Back when Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind first came out, all the individual lightning lane passes were gone within the first 10 seconds of them going up. So unless you are a resort guest, you weren't getting the individual lightning lane. But now, even now that Guardians of the Galaxy has been out for a while, by the time park opens, there's individual lightning lanes still available. So I wouldn't worry too much about not being able to get it. It's really more the advantage of staying at the resort is that you're pretty much guaranteed to get it, and you probably get a better time. You get better options for when the time is instead of having, like a 8 p.m. at night time for that ride. In order to purchase these, just like Genie Plus, you go into the My Disney Experience app, you go into the Genie section, and you find that individual attraction and you basically purchase it from there. You can also do a search for the ride itself. So if you did a search for like Cosmic Rewind, you click on it, there's a little space right there that says Lightning Lane, you click that, and then that's where you can purchase it from. You can buy lightning lanes across all parks. It doesn't have to be at the park you're at. So if you're at Magic Kingdom and you want to buy lightning lanes for Hollywood Studios, you're allowed to do that. However, there's one stipulation that you want to be aware of. You can only buy 2 individual lightning lane passes total for the entire day. 2, only 2. Not 2 per park, 2 total. So if you buy one at Hollywood Studios, you buy one at Magic Kingdom, you're done. You can't buy any at Epcot or Animal Kingdom. That's all you get. There is a technicality in there where you can actually get a third one, and that's if like the ride breaks down. If it breaks down and you get like a voucher or whatever, it does technically open it back up for you to buy a third one. But again, that's a very rare circumstance. You don't want to rely on that. But basically 2 a day. Also, you can't buy the same ride twice. So if you're thinking about, hey, I want to ride Rise of the Resistance twice using the Lightning Lane, not gonna happen. If you want to ride it a second time, you gotta wait in the line just like everybody else. Again, once you purchase your individual Lightning Lane, when your window time is up, head to the attraction, go into the Lightning Lane Pass lane, and scan your ticket, scan your Magic Band, and you're in. Again, same wait time applies for Genie Plus. You might be in line 5 minutes, you might be in line for a half an hour, but it's usually a pretty short wait. The big difference here though is for Lightning Passes, they're a little bit more lenient on your return time. So if you aren't able to make your 1 hour return time, they're pretty much just gonna let you get on the ride regardless. I wouldn't worry too much about, okay, we came late because we had a dinner reservation. They're gonna let you, I mean, you paid extra money for this pass. They're gonna let you in even if you come 5 or 6 or 7 hours late. We have done this. I can confirm this is the case. I've never seen anybody get turned away when they purchased an individual Lightning Lane and they came late. I'm not saying you should do it, but I'm saying if it happens and the circumstances are beyond your control, they'll let you in. Don't worry about it. The other thing to note is because you are purchasing the Lightning Lane, individual Lightning Lane separately, if the ride breaks down, they will actually change your window time to where you can basically return anytime for the rest of the day. So if you have a time for 10 and it's broken down and you can't ride it, it basically just switches and says just come back anytime before the park closes and you can ride it. If it stays broken down for quite a period of time, you can also just get a refund. You'll get your money back, which is a little bit different from Disney Genie Plus because they don't really offer refunds on Disney Genie Plus. If you feel like you didn't get enough use out of it or you were mad things were broken, they aren't really offering refunds. I'm not saying you can't get one if you do go to guest services and, politely ask. I'm not saying you won't get one, but for the most part, they're not really offering them. So let's go back to Disney Genie Plus now because I want to talk a little bit about the order of the rides that you should reserve first. I think people tend to overcomplicate this. There's a lot of guides and things out there that talk about, do this one and then this one and this one. I think they just overcomplicate it, honestly. Just to keep it simple, the rides that are gonna have the highest wait times in the park and also tend to be family-oriented rides are gonna be the ones that you want to book first. Things like Peter Pan's Flight. I mean, that thing has a 90-minute to 120-minute wait all day long, and little kids can ride it all the way up to grown adults. There's really no fear involved. It's a pretty good one. Space Mountain is another one. Pretty much anybody can ride that. Limitations on height and things aren't that strict. It's pretty easy to get on. It's kind of a mellow ride. It's gonna be pretty high up there. Things like Jungle Cruise. Slinky Dog Dash is another one, a very family-friendly roller coaster. Your more intense roller coasters, although a lot of people like to ride them, a lot of people don't like to ride them, or they have children that can't ride them. So they aren't gonna be as much. Again, it really is just think about the wait times. Anything that's gonna be like your 60 to 120 minute wait on average and tends to be something that families can ride together is gonna be the attractions that you're gonna wanna book first. I do not recommend using Disney Genie Plus on parades or fireworks. The viewing isn't that great. It's not that much different from what you get if you just stand by or just show up to them. It's kind of a waste. I wouldn't do it. So I'll just go through the heavy hitter list again. If you want to do these attractions, Space Mountain, Peter Pan's Flight, Jungle Cruise, all of those at Magic Kingdom. Over at Hollywood Studios, Slinky Dog Dash, surprisingly, yes, more so than even Tower of Terror, because again, these will disappear. It is not that you get a bad time, it will just be gone and you won't get one. Shifting over to Epcot, Frozen Ever After and Test Track are the big ones. And then over at Animal Kingdom, Kilimanjaro Safari is pretty much the only one. Those are the big rides that you're gonna wanna make sure you prioritize when it comes to getting Disney Genie Plus. Again, my advice is stack these things later in the day. Go in the morning, ride the things that probably don't have as bad of a wait time. Maybe do a rope drop and hit one of the big attractions early, and then leave in the middle of the day. Go back to your hotel, wherever, relax, go swimming, grab some food, and then come back in the evening and do all your stacked up Disney Genie Plus passes. The last thing that we'll cover is, do I need this? Is it worth it? We get that question a lot. And the answer is, of course, going to be, it really depends on you. Everybody kind of has to decide for themselves whether they think it's worth it, but I'm going to go through a few of the pros and cons and the reasons why you would want it and the reasons why you wouldn't want it. Let's start off with the reasons why you would want it. If you don't have a lot of time in the parks, say maybe you're only here for a weekend and you try to get all 4 parks in, you just don't have a lot of time to burn, Disney Genie Plus can be a good option for you because it'll allow you to get some of the bigger rides quicker and you can get through the parks a lot faster. Or maybe you just really hate standing in lines. If you just don't like standing in lines, it could be a good option for you. Or if you tend to be a Disney vacationer that just tends to move a little bit slower, maybe you just kind of meander your way through the parks and not be so stressed out and just kind of take it in and make it, just real easy like, and you don't really want to have to run from thing to thing to thing and think about all the stuff in what order. It could be a great option. I think it's a good option for people who don't like to rush around. Maybe you just have a lot of money. Maybe you got a lot of money in your pocket and you don't mind spending it. For you've got enough money. It's really about the experience. Your time is more valuable than your money. I think Disney Genie Plus, individual lightning lanes, again, great options. Most people tend to agree that if you're gonna buy Disney Genie Plus, the best parks to buy it for are gonna be Magic Kingdom and Hollywood Studios. Not really needed so much for Epcot and Animal Kingdom. I'm not saying you shouldn't get them, but those tend to be the 2 parks that you'd want it for and the 2 parks that you probably don't need it for. The only real reason to use the individual lightning lane pass and purchase that is if you just really don't want to miss out on a ride. The best bet to almost guarantee that you're gonna get to ride the ride and not have to wait 3 hours for it and then it breaks down and you got in line at the end of the night and now you have to leave and you didn't get to ride it. The best option is the individual lightning lane, but really that is because you just don't want to miss out on that ride. Maybe it's the first time you'll ever get to ride it. Maybe you won't get to ride it again for 5 years. Individual lightning lane is great for that. Now let's talk about the reasons why you wouldn't want to get any of these. Basically, because you don't need to. There's really nothing that you get out of Disney Genie Plus or individual lightning lane that you can't do. You can still do all of the rides. You can still experience all the attractions without having to have these passes. Again, it just kind of shortcuts things, makes it a little bit easier. Can save you a little bit of time, again, depending on your knowledge of the parks and how fast you like to move. But basically, it's not necessary. It is a nice to have. So there you have it. That's the overview and everything you need to know about Disney Genie, Genie Plus, and the individual lightning lane passes. Hopefully you learned a little bit. Hopefully this has given you the information you need to be armed and ready for your next vacation, to enjoy it as best possible and to understand, do I really need to buy these services or can I get away with not doing it? Is it required? I want to save some money. Hopefully this answered all those questions for you. If you have any questions, or you're curious about something I didn't answer, please feel free to comment below. Let me know. I will update that pinned comment below with all the information, things that changed. So if you have any information, if you feel like something was missing, just let us know. Thanks so much for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Again, do lots of other content. We don't just cover Disney, we do Universal, we do SeaWorld, lots of other theme parks around the world, restaurant reviews and things. Also daily vlogs, so don't forget to check out all of our other content. Lots of them are linked in the description below. Check them out. We will have another brand new episode for you tomorrow. Hope to see you then. Until then, the Noble Way is the easy way.